Greg Bonnet with you here on Newsline on 980 CKRM. Back with George Marcello right after this quick break. We're talking about George Marcello and his odyssey across Canada to boost awareness of organ transplants, organ donations, and tissue donations. And the question, a couple of questions for you this morning. Does Canada need a
Hello again, everybody. I'm Patrick French. Welcome to Plugged In Daily.
In our first segment, we bring you the story of George Marcello's journey across Canada. For the last 250 days, George has been on the road telling Canadians about the shortage of organ donations and the vital need for a national donor registry. We had a chance to speak with Mr. Marcello during his recent visit to Moose Jaw.
Well, actually, today is day 252. And we kind of extended it from 527 days. We're reaching 600 days.
Right.
More cities and towns are coming on board, wanting us to come through their community.
Okay.
So this campaign is about addressing the serious shortage of organs and tissues in our country.
Right.
Canada ranks as one of the lowest in the civilized world. And, you know, we can change that. And we're hoping that this walk can reach every Canadian from coast to coast and leave them with a good feeling when they think about organ donations. And we're also trying to encourage and strongly inspire the government to take some more steps into, you know, changing the system.
Right.
Presently, we're holding on to a very prehistoric system, and we need some vital steps, you know,
Right.
for them to take.
I know one of those vital steps that you're campaigning for is an organ donor registry. Is that correct for the,
yes,
the country?
that's correct. That is crucial. And you know, we also need them to take a look at making the decision legal binding, because the focus on the decision is made with the family at a time when they first hear about the tragedy that they lost their loved ones, and a lot of times they're not able to make the decision on that weak moment. So we want to let the government know that a lot of families want that changed. You know, they don't want to be approached at that moment, you know. And a lot of individuals want the decision to become legal binding, because it's a question of basic freedom and rights also. Like if you're making such a precious decision, it should be honored, you know, and we shouldn't have, the individual shouldn't have to think that it's being relying on a very poor system. So these things have to be seriously addressed by the government, and we're hoping that this walk is helping to bring it to the forefront.
Right. Now I know part of the walk too is the Olympic torch that you brought along. Tell me about the story that's behind that.
Well, the Olympic torch was a torch that was you know, given to us, and it's an authentic Olympic torch. It was lit in Toronto by ceremoniously by Mayor Mel Lessman, and he passed it on to a person that was on the waiting list. Then that person carried it, and it's been carried through thousands of hands since, and we've gone through over 140 cities and towns, carrying it into each town. And it's our symbol for hope, you know, and to you know, create a spirit, you know, from coast to coast. Let people know that the torch is coming in, and the spirit is to be continued in each of the communities, and hopefully lives can be saved as a result of this spirit.
Right. Tell me a little bit about where you go from here. What's your next stop from Moose Jaw? Do you know?
Well, we're in Moose Jaw for 2 days, and we'll be leaving early Wednesday morning, and we're headed towards Swift Current, and that'll be our next stop.
Okay. Now, George, tell me about your own personal experience, because I know you're living proof that organ donation does work. Tell me about that.
Well, 5 years ago, I was rushed to the hospital with liver failure, and I was told that I only had 2 days left to live at that point. And, you know, the odds were against me from getting an organ because there was a critical shortage, and I knew that. You know, the next day, an organ did become available, and I was one of the fortunate Canadians to get that call, because a lot of Canadians were passing away, and I got to meet a lot of Canadians that were, you know, passing away. And a family had to make a very courageous decision, you know, at a very tragic time when for me to have gotten that organ. And when I woke up after the surgery, what I wanted to do was acknowledge what they did, you know, and that's why 2 years later I put a knapsack on my back and walked from Toronto to Ottawa to say thank you. Yeah. And this year I'm walking 12,000 kilometers across Canada to say thank you and to help give that person on the waiting list a fighting chance to survive.
That's such an important thing, too, to talk it over with your family, sign the donor's card, but make sure that your family understands your wishes far in advance of when anything tragic happens, isn't it? Yeah,
that is extremely important. We want to try and prepare the family as much as possible, the immediate family. And, you know, you could never prepare enough, though, because you don't know how you're going to act that moment during a tragedy. Yeah. So this is why all the more reason to have the decision legal bind and put the focus not during the tragedy, but, you know, outside of the tragedy. It just makes sense. I mean, we're asked to, when we're making our wills, to be in our right state of mind, because, you know, you have to be in your right state of mind to know what you want to pass on, right? Right. We should look at this the same way, you know. It's a very precious gift that we're passing on, and it should be made during the right state of mind.
Right. Now, I know another facet of the trip across Saskatchewan, too, is that you've dedicated your walk across Saskatchewan to a particular man, I believe in Melfort, was it, who passed away waiting?
That's correct. And his name is Lane Miko. I met his mom and friends in Melfort, and it was a very emotional day for me. And I actually heard about Lane, you know, before that, and I wanted to give them a call, but I thought it was too sensitive, you know, because they just lost Lane, and, you know, and when I arrived to meet the police escort in Melfort, you know, the mom was there, and so were friends, and it was just, you know, I felt so moved by that. And it's the reason why I'm on the road, you know, to hopefully we can give people a fighting chance to survive and not have more people passing away like Lane did, you know. So the whole trip in the province of Saskatchewan is dedicated to his memory.